Real Estate Radio, 94.9 News Now, stimulating talk. Byron Lazine and Chaz Cook from the One Team at William Raveis Real Estate. Along with us is Brian Skelly from William Raveis Mortgage. What's going on, boys? I want to lead off with mortgage. So, Brian, you're going to be right up here.
All right, let's do it.
Last week, you mentioned the announced new program in Connecticut.
Yes, the Smart Rate program.
The Smart Rate program. And then you had an assumption. You were ahead of the curve on this deal that potentially CHFA, the time to own program, could be combined with the Smart Rate program.
Yes,
so
that's true.
Hold on. I want you to break down, because we're throwing out a lot of
jargon,
crap.
A lot of jargon.
A lot of nonsense here.
A lot of branded mortgage program names.
So CHFA is a Connecticut mortgage program.
Yes.
What does that mean? What's the Smart Rate? Break them both down, and then we're going to get into interest rates, maybe where these are going. Later on in the show, we've got an update from Amtrak, maybe a dream scenario, New York City to Boston, 2 hours or less commute. That would be interesting. A lot of people do take that travel New York to Boston. Does it benefit Connecticut in any way to make that a reality? And then we also have some Connecticut natives in the Olympics. So we'll talk about that. But we're kicking off with mortgages here, and we'll get to the 30-year fixed in a minute. But these programs that are specific to Connecticut, break those down so we can all understand them.
All right. So if you don't know what CHFA is, it's CHFA, stands for Connecticut Housing Finance Authority. And this is a state bond funded program. So basically the state is sponsoring it.
Yeah, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
How many other states do you know of that have this similar type of program? Right?
A lot of them have their own state bond program with their own organization. I know Massachusetts has one, Florida has one, Vermont. They're pretty common, but most state has its own program. So in Connecticut, the state bond program for mortgages, the first-time buyer Connecticut program is called CHFA, CHFA. Now, they don't actually make the loans. So if you want to get a CHFA loan, you have to go to a CHFA-approved lender. There's quite a few of them. The company that I work for, William Raveis Mortgage, is a CHFA-approved lender, and so you can get those loans through us. Now,
not an easy approval to get, what I understand from other loan officers and lenders. It's the hardest of all the programs to get. That's what I understand. Maybe you're going to tell me different. But.
You know, I've been since I've done a lot of them, I've gotten used to it, and it doesn't seem that daunting to me as it was when I first started.
William Raveis Mortgage is approved.
Right.
Another bank or another lender is not approved. I'm talking about from the lending perspective to get approved to be able certified. To give out CHFA, to the certification of doing CHFA.
Yes. So there are some additional restrictions on these loan programs. So in order to become an approved lender, you have to become knowledgeable about all these additional rules that don't apply to regular loans. Specifically, there is income limits for the different programs, and they have certain ways that they calculate the income. So it is more complicated to do the pre-approval. We have to make sure that the buyer has enough income to get approved, but not too much income that they are over the income limit. And that's a little bit of a tricky calculation that takes some practice and getting used to. So CHFA loans have been around for a long time, and the main benefit is that they offer very good rates and down payment assistance. So they have had a down payment assistance program that they still have, which is called the DAP, which is an acronym, stands for Down Payment Assistance Program. They're real original when they came up with that one.
I thought it meant dap it up.
Dap it up. So that one's been around for a long time, but they had two new programs. One that came out in 2022, which has been very popular and is still around, is a great program called Time to Own. And another one that starts this Monday, July 29th. You heard about it first on Real Estate Radio, the Smart Rate program. So the Smart Rate program is offering one of the biggest rate discounts I have ever seen in my career. It's over 1%. It's 1 1/8 or 1.125 off their already very attractive rates. So, for example, their conventional rate was 6.625 yesterday. So if you were getting 1 1/8 off of that, it would bring you down to 5.5 on a conventional CHFA loan as of yesterday. And then their FHA option, so you can get conventional and FHA loans through CHFA. The FHA rate was 6 1/4 yesterday. So if you get 1 1/8 off of that, that would bring it down to 5.125. So, I mean, if we see a 0.25% drop in rates, somebody could be getting a rate in the 4s with the Smart Rate program.
Like 4s.
Yeah, like if rates drop a 0.25%, you'd be at 4.875 on a CHFA FHA Smart Rate loan. So not everybody's eligible before the listeners get too excited about this. Let me tell you what some of the restrictions are. So to be eligible for the Smart Rate distance, you have to have $15,000 in outstanding balance on student loans at the time of the loan approval. So what the CHFA recognizes that a lot of folks have acquired a significant amount of debt in order to get a college education. And it's some of those folks, it's hard for them to buy a house because they have to afford their student loan payments and maybe a car payment and a house payment. So in an effort to help some of those folks get into home ownership, they've introduced a Smart Rate program. Now, last week, I was talking about it when they first announced this program, which just came out like 10 days ago. They announced it. I wasn't sure if they were going to allow you to combine the time to own and the Smart Rate. Now, the time to own program is a down payment assistance program, kind of similar to their DAP program, but more money. So under the time to own, you could get anywhere from $18,750 up to $50,000 towards down payment and closing costs at a 0% rate, a forgivable loan, which is also phenomenal. Now, I just found out this week, they will allow you to combine the two programs. So potentially, if you have the $15,000 in student loan debt and you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years, which is one of the CHFA requirements to be a first-time buyer, no real estate ownership in the last 3 years, and you're under the income limits, you could potentially get the rate in the 5s with the Smart Rate program and get up to $50,000 in time to own money, and you can combine both of those, which would be fantastic.
If I use this CHFA, the Smart program, the CHFA program, now you can't go and rent out a CHFA home, so you have to live there.
That is correct. It's only for primary residences.
Now, what if in 3 years, 2 years, you want a bigger house because maybe, you just need more space? What happens at that point?
Sure. So the time to own loan is a second mortgage at a 0% interest rate. So there's no monthly payments, but it is a mortgage and there is a balance on it. So if you don't know this, anytime you sell a house that has mortgages, the attorney in Connecticut, your seller's attorney looks up the balance on the mortgage, and that just basically gets paid off at closing. So you would have a payoff for your primary mortgage, and then you'd have a payoff for the time to own loan. Now, the time to own loan is a forgivable loan, which means every year they forgive some of the balance. So the balance is going down. So basically, it would get paid off just like any other mortgage.
You'd have to sell the property. You couldn't, in 3 years, if you had to move out and get a bigger house, you couldn't rent it. You'd have to sell. You don't have the flexibility.
You could refinance to get a conventional mortgage if you wanted to.
Into a new loan and turn it into an investment
property. You could do that,
way.
yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you don't have to sell the property.
Because
a lot of people have that question when they're getting CHFA. Well, this is going to be great for me as a stepping stone, but what if, or if I want to build, some type of investment? It's not an investment vehicle. It is a primary residence vehicle. Great job breaking that down.